I thought I had learned most of what life had to teach. But retirement, it surprised me. Not because of the quiet or the free time. It was the small things, the overlooked moments, that started to matter more than ever. I realized that happiness at this stage is not about doing more. It is about doing the right little things with care. Over the years, I have built a set of personal habits, simple, gentle actions that have made each day of retirement feel richer, deeper, and more joyful. These are not theories. They are my lived experiences. If you are retired or getting close, I hope these ideas will speak to you the way they changed things for me. Because retirement is not the end of your story. It is a beautiful new chapter. And how you choose to live it, that makes all the difference. Habit 1. Sit outside before the world wakes up. When I was still working, mornings were a rush. Alarm clocks, shaving, coffee in a travel mug, traffic. Everything moved fast. Too fast. After I retired, that urgency disappeared. At first, I slept in. I thought I deserved it. And maybe I did. But something felt off. I started waking up earlier. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Now I begin each day sitting outside before the world fully wakes up. Around 5:30 or 6 in the morning. Just me, the soft light, and the sound of the day stretching itself open. There is something sacred about that hour. No noise, no television, no traffic yet, just the birds, sometimes the wind, and the slow rising of the sun. I bring my cup of coffee, black, no sugar, and I sit in my old wooden chair on the porch. I do not read. I do not check my phone. I just sit. Sometimes I think. Sometimes I do not. Sometimes I pray, not out loud, but quietly. Not always for anything specific. Just a moment of thankfulness. A simple acknowledgement. I am here. I am alive. I get another day. There's no agenda in this moment. No task to complete. And that is what makes it powerful. It is not about productivity. It is about presence. One morning, my granddaughter asked me, "Grandpa, what do you do when you sit out there?" I smiled and said, "Nothing. That is the whole point." The truth is, doing nothing with intention is one of the most healing things a person can learn. We spend our lives chasing after the next thing. Retirement gives us the chance to stop, but if we do not know how to stop, we carry the same stress into our quiet years. This habit, sitting outside in the stillness, teaches me to listen, to notice, to begin the day with peace instead of pressure. And on some mornings, when the breeze is just right and the birds are talking to each other in the trees, I feel something I can only describe as deep, quiet joy. It is not loud. It does not need to be. It is the kind of joy that says, this moment is enough. Habit 2, keep one ritual object that grounds you. In my right front pocket, I carry something small, a pocket watch. It used to belong to my father. The glass is scratched, the chain is worn, and it does not even work anymore. The hands stopped moving years ago, but I carry it every day, not because I need to check the time. I have a phone for that and several clocks around the house. I carry it because it connects me to something deeper, to who I am, to where I came from. When I feel anxious or when a day feels too heavy, I reach into my pocket and hold that watch for just a few seconds. The weight of it calms me. It brings me back. It is like a reminder that I am still a part of something bigger. My story did not begin with me, and it will not end with me either. Everyone has something like this, whether they know it or not. It might be a wedding ring, a favorite book, a note from someone who mattered, an old photograph, a worn-out hat. These things are not just things. They are anchors. In retirement, we have more space, more time, and sometimes more questions. What is my role now? Do I still matter? What do I do with all these memories? Ritual objects help answer those questions in a quiet, personal way. They are not loud or flashy, but they carry meaning. For me, the watch is a habit in itself. I do not make a big deal out of it. I do not talk about it much, but every day I slip it into my pocket. It is a small, silent promise I make to myself. Stay grounded, stay grateful, stay present. Sometimes, when my grandson sits on my lap and fidgets with the chain, he asks me what it is. I tell him it is a broken watch with a strong heartbeat. He laughs, not quite understanding yet. One day maybe I will give it to him, and maybe, just maybe, he will understand what it meant, not as an object, but as a ritual. In a world full of change, holding on to something meaningful helps you stay still inside. Habit 3. Have a weekly reset walk alone. Every Sunday afternoon, I take a walk, not a power walk, not for steps or calories or exercise goals. Just a walk. Me, my shoes, and the path I know by heart. I walk the same route most times, around the lake near my house. It takes about 40 minutes if I do not stop, but I always stop. Sometimes to look at the water, sometimes to sit on a bench, sometimes just to breathe. This walk is not about fitness. It is about clarity. It is a reset. Life, even in retirement, can build up noise. We do not always notice it, but it is there. Worries, thoughts, regrets, unfinished conversations. This walk gives me space to lay those things down, not to solve them, just to release them. I started doing this a few years ago after a particularly tough week. I had been feeling restless, like I was drifting. My mind was crowded even though my calendar was empty. That first walk was out of frustration. But what I found was peace. Now it is a ritual, a quiet appointment with myself. I do not bring music or podcasts. I do not call anyone. I let the silence walk with me. Sometimes I whisper questions out loud. What do I need to let go of? Is there something I have not said to someone that I should? Am I holding on to a version of myself that no longer fits? The answers do not always come right away, but the act of asking is enough. Walking opens the mind in a different way than sitting still does. There is something about the rhythm of your feet and the rhythm of your thoughts coming together. I have cried on these walks. I have laughed. I have remembered things I thought I had forgotten. Retirement gives us time, but it does not automatically give us peace. We have to make space for it. And sometimes, peace looks like walking slowly by yourself, not to get somewhere, but just to come back to yourself. If you try only one new habit this year, let it be this: one walk a week, alone, without a goal. Without noise, just you and the path. You might be surprised at what you find there. Habit 4. Write one letter, a real one, every month. There is something powerful about putting pen to paper, not typing, not texting, not sending an email. I am talking about a real letter, written slowly, sealed in an envelope, and dropped into the mailbox with a stamp. I started writing letters again about 2 years into retirement. Not for any particular reason at first. I just found an old box of stationery in a drawer one afternoon and thought, why not? That first letter I wrote to my son. He lives 3 states away and we talk often, but I had never told him how proud I was of the man he became. I had told him I loved him, of course, but I had never put into words the little things. The time he helped me fix the porch steps without me asking, or the way he is raising his kids with patience and humor. So I sat down and I wrote. Not a long letter, just enough to say what mattered. I dropped it in the mail thinking maybe it would be a nice surprise. A week later, he called me with a different tone in his voice. It was soft, almost emotional. He said, "Dad, that meant more than you know." That was all I needed to hear. Since then, I have made it a habit to write one letter every month, sometimes to family, sometimes to old friends. Once, even to a teacher I had in high school who changed my life with one sentence. The beauty of a letter is not just in the message, it is in the act. Writing forces you to slow down, to think, to be intentional with your words. You are not just sending information. You are sending a part of yourself. It is also a gift. A real, tangible gift that someone can hold, reread, keep in a drawer for years. Letters do not disappear like text messages. They linger. I keep a small list now called Letters I Want to Send. It includes people who have shaped me, helped me, stood by me, or simply made me smile when I needed it. Some of them will never know how much they mattered unless I tell them. You do not need to be a writer. You do not need fancy words. Just tell someone what they mean to you, or share a memory, or say thank you, or even just say, I thought of you today. I once sent a letter to a friend I had not spoken to in over 30 years. I was not even sure he would remember me, but he did. He wrote back. Now we exchange letters every few months like we are kids again. It is a quiet joy that keeps surprising me. So, once a month, I sit at the kitchen table. I pour a cup of tea. I take out a pen and paper, and I connect, not just with a person, but with the version of myself that remembers how to feel deeply and speak clearly. Write one letter, just one. You will see, it changes something inside you. Habit 5. Create a no-rush zone in your home. One of the best things I ever did after retiring was this. I created a small corner in my home where absolutely nothing productive happens. No bills are paid there. No laundry folded. No emails read. No phones allowed. I call it my no-rush zone. It is just a chair, really. A comfortable one, near the window where the afternoon light comes in. Next to it is a small table with a coaster, a book I have already read 3 times, and sometimes a candle that smells like cedarwood. That is it. I go there when I want to breathe. Not deep meditation. Not some grand spiritual quest. Just to be. To sit without the feeling that I should be doing something else. See, even in retirement, I noticed how easy it is to carry the habit of rushing. It is strange. You spend your whole life hurrying, through school, through work, through raising children. And then suddenly, the clock slows down, but your mind does not. You find yourself still checking the time, still feeling guilty for doing nothing. The no-rush zone is where I retrain my mind. I sit there in the middle of the day sometimes, just watching the leaves move outside or listening to the tick of the clock on the wall. There is no goal, no timer, just me, my breath, and the passing of time. It sounds small. It might even sound boring, but I promise you, there is freedom in boredom if you let yourself lean into it. Sometimes I drink tea in that chair. Sometimes I close my eyes. Sometimes I talk to my wife in my thoughts. Not out loud, just in the way people do when love never fully leaves. My grandchildren once asked if that was my thinking chair. I told them, no, it is my not thinking chair. They laughed, but they got the idea. I believe everyone needs a space like that. It does not have to be fancy. It does not need candles or books or window light. It just needs to be a place where you let yourself slow down fully without apology. In that space, I am not a father or a grandfather or a neighbor or a customer. I am just me, a human being, not a human doing. You would be surprised how healing it is to have a spot in your own home where time is welcome to pass without pressure. So find a chair, or a corner, or a bench outside. Make it yours. Let it be the place where you remember that your worth is not tied to how much you do, but how fully you live. Habit 6. Share a story from your life with someone younger, every week. When I was younger, I used to think stories were just for children, something you tell at bedtime. something with a beginning, a middle, and a lesson at the end. But now, at 70, I see it differently. Stories are not just for kids. They are for connection, for memory, for meaning. Every week, I make it a point to share one story from my life with someone younger. It might be with my grandson over the phone, or my neighbor's teenage son who likes to help me with the yard. Sometimes it is just a conversation with my niece, or even a letter I write to someone far away. The stories are never planned. I do not sit down and say, "Here is the moral of today's tale." It usually starts naturally. Something they say will remind me of something from long ago, and instead of letting the moment pass, I pause and say, "You know, that reminds me of a time when," and then I tell it. Like the story of how I hitchhiked across the state when I was 19 because I was too proud to ask my father for a ride. Or the one where I learned how to cook rice properly after burning 3 pots in 1 week after my wife went out of town. These are not heroic stories. They are not full of drama or great achievement, but they are mine. And sharing them reminds me that my life has had color and messiness and laughter and learning. What surprised me most is how much younger people want to hear them, not in a polite, nodding way. I mean really hear them. They lean in, they laugh, they ask questions, and I realized most of them are starving for something real. In a world full of quick videos, fast answers, and noise, a story from someone who has lived through it all is like a slow, nourishing meal. But the gift goes both ways. When I share a story, I feel useful again, not because I am teaching, but because I am connecting. Retirement can sometimes feel like we are slowly disappearing from the fast world. But storytelling brings us back into it, not as noise, but as wisdom. You do not need to prepare anything. Just think of a memory, one that makes you smile, or one that taught you something, and share it. Not for applause, just for the joy of passing something on. It can be short, it can be silly, it can be serious. It just has to be yours. And do not wait for someone to ask you. Offer it up. That is how they learn that stories do not live forever unless someone tells them out loud. Habit 7. Eat something seasonal with full attention. When I was working, I ate fast, in the car, at my desk, in front of the television. Food was fuel. Something to get me from one meeting to the next, or one chore to another. But now, in retirement, I eat differently. I eat slowly. And more importantly, I eat with awareness. One of the best habits I have developed is to choose one food every season and truly enjoy it. Not just taste it, really experience it. In the fall, it is roasted butternut squash with a little butter and cinnamon. In the spring, it is fresh strawberries picked right from the farm. In the summer, it is corn on the cob with salt and pepper. And in winter, it is a hot bowl of homemade soup, rich with root vegetables and love. Each season has its own flavor, its own story, its own rhythm. And by choosing one food to celebrate in that time, I stay connected to nature, to the calendar, and to something deeper inside myself. I do not eat these foods in a rush. I set the table. Even if it is just me. I place the plate down like I am serving a guest. I take the first bite slowly. I chew with full attention. I notice the texture, the temperature, the aroma. It sounds simple, and it is. But it is also sacred. We often talk about gratitude. But eating seasonally and with presence is one of the most natural forms of gratitude I know. You are not just saying thank you. You are living it. There is a kind of joy that comes when you honor the moment in front of you. And food is one of the most intimate moments we have every day. This habit also keeps me grounded. When I feel overwhelmed or disconnected, I go to the local market, walk through the produce section, and ask myself, what is fresh right now? What did the earth just give us? And then I bring that home, cook it with care, and sit down as if it is a small holiday. This is not about fancy cooking. I am not a chef. Sometimes I just slice an apple and eat it by the window while watching the wind move through the trees. That counts. The point is not the recipe, it is the reverence. So pick one food this season. Just one. Eat it with your full attention. Let it remind you that time is passing in a beautiful way and that you are still part of the seasons, not separate from them. When you live this way, every bite becomes a way to say, I am here. I am grateful. I am alive. Habit 8. Do one thing out of character once a month. There is a certain comfort in routine, especially in retirement. You find your rhythm, your favorite chair, your favorite mug, your preferred time to walk or read or rest. And that comfort is a gift. But I learned slowly and unexpectedly that too much comfort can quietly become a cage. That is why, once a month, I do something out of character, something a little unexpected, not dangerous, not wild, just different from what I usually do. The idea started after a Sunday church service when a woman in our community invited me to a pottery class. She said, "It is just beginners, mostly folks our age. You might enjoy it." I laughed and said, "I do not even like getting my hands dirty." But I could tell she was serious. So, the next Thursday, I went. I made a bowl. It was lopsided, too thin on one side, and the glaze looked like something from a child's art project. But I was smiling the whole time, not because I had discovered a hidden talent, but because I had stepped outside the small circle I had drawn around myself. That day, I realized something important. Just because I am retired, just because I am older, does not mean I am done becoming. Trying something new, especially something you never saw yourself doing, shakes off the dust. It brings light into corners of you that have gone untouched for years. It wakes up the child that still lives inside, even if he has silver hair and slower knees. Since then, I have made a list of small things I would like to try. Not bucket list items, not life-changing dreams, just little adventures of curiosity. Last month, I joined a beginner's yoga class. I was the stiffest person in the room, but also the one laughing the most. The month before, I went to an open mic night, not to perform, just to listen. I ended up talking to a college student about poetry. He said I reminded him of his grandfather. I took that as a compliment. I have gone to art museums alone, taken different routes home on purpose, ordered food I could not pronounce. I once signed up for a free online astronomy lecture and spent an evening learning about the stars I used to look at with my brother when we were kids. Every time I do something out of character, I feel more alive, not because it changes who I am, but because it reminds me that I am not finished. None of us are. We spend our youth trying to figure out who we are. We spend our middle years trying to hold on to it. But retirement, this is the time to expand again, to grow in softer, gentler ways. Doing something unexpected once a month is not about making a statement. It is about keeping your spirit curious, letting surprise into your life like sunlight through a window you forgot could open. And sometimes it leads to beautiful results. That crooked bowl I made, my granddaughter keeps her hair ties in it. She calls it Grandpa's masterpiece. I smile every time I see it on her dresser. So, here is the invitation. Think of one thing you have never done, not because you could not, but because you just never thought to try. Then go do it. Not to be good at it, not to impress anyone, just to remember what it feels like to step outside your own shadow for a while. Life does not have to get smaller as we age. It can get deeper, brighter, even a little stranger in the best possible way. Once a month, that is all it takes. One small moment of curiosity, one act of quiet bravery, and I promise you, something inside you will stir and whisper, Thank you. I needed that. So there you have it. 8 small habits that have added more peace, more joy, and more meaning to my days in retirement. They are not secrets. They are not special formulas. Just quiet choices made again and again until they became part of the way I live. I did not learn these habits all at once. Some came from boredom. Some came from sadness. Some came from small moments of unexpected beauty. But each one has helped me feel a little more grounded, a little more awake, and a lot more grateful. Retirement is not about stopping. It is about shifting. It is about trading noise for depth, speed for stillness, and busyness for presence. You do not need to do all 8. Start with one. The one that tugged at your heart a little. The one that made you pause and think, maybe I need that. And if you already have your own habits, your own quiet wisdom, I would love to hear it. Share it in the comments below. Not just for me, but for others who might be walking the same road, quietly looking for new light. We do not retire from growing. We retire into growing differently. Slower maybe, softer, but still forward. Always forward. If this video made you feel seen or reminded you of something good, consider sending it to someone you care about, a friend, a sibling, a neighbor. Sometimes one small share can become a gentle turning point in someone else's day. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, take good care of yourself and remember the little things. They are never just little.